Okay, everybody. Hello. My name is John. Um, really gonna start off at the beginning. There's a lot of things that I can touch on. I'm gonna touch on a few for the short time that we have. Um, Basically, growing up, both my mom and dad were addicted to drugs. They lived more or less like reckless lifestyles. So I really had no home training. A lot of things that I learned, I have learned on my own through sitting back and observing, um, seeing how the world works, so to speak. Um, as I grew up, I was more or less like in a poverty setting. A lot of people around me were poor, had no jobs. If they did have jobs, they were minimum wage. They were kind of like living check to check. Um, so I seen that a lot growing up where I come from. A lot of people struggle. A lot of people struggle in different aspects of life. Um, I see a lot of people that didn't have jobs that tend to live a sort of a street life, where they did whatever they needed to do to put food on the table. And growing up, I observed a lot of people doing that in different kind of ways, whether it was selling drugs, whether it was stealing from stores, stealing from people's houses, robbing people, robbing drug dealers, just different kind of avenues on ways to provide for their family. Um, Everybody's not privileged. Everybody doesn't grow up with a picket fence. You know, mom, dad are lawyer. They can go off to a private school, Yale or Harvard or different things like that of that nature. Um, some people actually do grow up in struggles, and I talk to a lot of people from a lot of different walks of life, whether they were rich, whether they were poor. Um, and it seems like the people that are well off, they really don't understand the struggle until you actually take them there and they can see it firsthand. A lot of people think that, well, I'm well off, so your dad should have went off and made you well off, but it's not always like that. We live in a country where it thrives on drugs, whether legal drugs or illegal drugs. Pharmaceutical company makes trillions a year, off of medicines that have trillions of side effects. You see the commercials, bleeding of the butt, different kind of stuff like that, to that nature, headaches, migraines, throwing up, and different type of stuff like that. But that stuff is legal. Where you have illegal drugs that you might have side effects, you throw up, because you're addicted to the drug, and it changes. It kind of like it changes your nature. Some of the things change your nature. Now, I'm not here to glorify selling drugs or using illegal drugs. I'm just trying to let you know that there is a problem with the system, in the way they handle different situations. Um, I got caught up in the system when I was 22 years old. I had a cousin that actually was selling drugs. He was real major. Um, he ended up making like $3 million in 3 years, so he was real major. And I seen, the process of how he started with nothing, even though he came from a family where he didn't have to hustle, but he just understood the lifestyle and liked the lifestyle. He liked what come with the lifestyle. I mean, that came with the lifestyle, more or less like the money, the cars, the clothes, just being able to get up whenever you want to and do whatever you wanted to. You really didn't have any responsibilities at the age of 21, 22. You have no kids. You know what I'm saying? You're fresh out of high school, really trying to make a way for yourself. Um, After high school, I went to a trade school, but at that time, Bush was in economy. Bush Jr. was in economy, so a lot of the factory jobs that I went to school for were leaving. They were going different places. Um, so I turned to him, and he told me, "Well, come up here, man. I'm doing good." I ended up getting caught up with him. Ended up catching a federal case at a very young age, and it seems like ever since I've been in the system, I haven't seen any help, any kind of relief, as far as like government assistance or trying to be able to cope with society after you get out. it's very little programs that's really set up. Not to say that it's not any. Um, After I got out the feds, I ran into a Restore Ministries, and I ran into a momentum program. So it's certain programs that are set up here to help you, but you have to really do your own footwork. It's not like we're gonna help rehabilitate you once you get out of prison, or try to help rehabilitate you when you are in prison. There's very few avenues. You're locked up around all criminals, so all day long, you're talking about criminal activity. You're talking about how to better yourself and better become a better criminal. At what you do, whether it's robbing banks, whether it's selling drugs, whether it's white collar crimes, or whatever. I never really like to touch on race issues, but being a black man is definitely hard. I done seen people that don't even have criminal histories or a criminal record struggle to get jobs. With education. So with a felony on top of that, it makes it that much tougher. Um, like I said, a lot of people they're already put in positions where their dad is a lawyer, so he can come home from work, and teach his son, well, son, this is this is that, and they already have a little bit, they already have their foot in the door, and then he has enough money where he can start off his law firm. I started off, well, my mom was actually a single parent because my dad had left, so it was basically I was the only boy in the house, so I had to become a provider. And the best way I knew how to become a provider was by hustling, because that's all I seen. Um, like I said, I got caught up into the system at a very young age of 22. I got out. I did kind of good for myself, but I still struggled in spots. I was still getting jobs, and then they'll find some kind of reason to lay me off because they didn't like my attitude, or didn't like the way I looked, or the way I dressed, or the way I talked, which is different things. That always it was always a problem. Um, Seeing now that I'm a little bit older and I know a little bit more about the system, I caught a case a couple years back, and the judges, the lawyers, the prosecutor, and a lot of those people are all in cahoots. It's all a system. I know the guys before me probably said this, but it's truly all a system. At the end of the day, it's a hustle. If you don't have enough money to pay for a lawyer, then you get a court-appointed lawyer. Then the court-appointed lawyer, he usually comes and see you while you're in the county, which you didn't have any money for bail because you were trying to hustle to make money. So you have no money now. So he comes and talks to you, and basically these prosecutors and these court appointed lawyers, they have lunch together, they have golf ins together, they have coffee together, so they know each other personally. So it's just like it's tit for tat. Well, you'll give me a little bit of leniency on this case, and I'll help you out on the next case. So that's the kind of monster that you're dealing with.